Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. We are back with our weekly, which will now be our weekly Premier League review, and looking forward to this week's Premier League action. Firstly, Pieman, we're going to look back at night 8, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed night 8 in Birmingham. Officially now at the halfway stage, and I'll start. There's only one place to start. Jonny Clayton was absolutely magnificent. Easily the best performance of the whole tournament so far. He averaged 111 in the final, and what now can be described as vintage Ferret. 140s galore, 180s in there, the point to the camera, 1-2-1s, 1-2-4s, you name it. Clayton delivered on night 8 in Birmingham. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, he certainly did. And we talked about him needing that win after going off the boil a little bit. We talked about a potential dip from Clayton last week, but he certainly delivered last week. He was absolutely exceptional. As you say, marvellous in the final against Wade. Didn't stand a chance, Wade, against Clayton in that form, although he didn't play well himself, it must be said. But yeah, he was fantastic. And I touched on it last week, 298 averages the week before, but it wasn't reflected in the results as such. And I know you picked him maybe to build on that and win last week, and he certainly did deliver for us. So yeah, really enjoyed Jonny Clayton's performance. And conversely, Michael van Gerwen was way off it. Really weird, but everyone has a bad night. But I mean, he soon bounced back by winning a Super Series on the weekend, so nothing to worry about. But yeah, it was slightly odd to see MVG averaging 87 after the form that he's shown in recent times. But just shows over these best of 6 anything can happen. But Clayton, a very, very worthy winner on the night. He did it the hard way, and he did it with some excellent darts.
Yeah, and Wade got to the final as well. We said last week Wade was in danger of getting towards the bottom of the table, picked up a couple of wins. Like you say, he didn't really turn up in the final, but even if he did, it wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, good win for Wadey in the first game against Van Gerwen, and didn't look back from there really. So again, just another one of the players that can just switch it on from week to week.
Yeah, and it boosts him up that table again, doesn't it? I mean, he's instantly up into 5th spot off the back of that, so he's right in the mix for qualifying again. And it twos and fro's very quickly. And while Wade hasn't got the flash and the bravado of other players, he could certainly go and do that. He could go and grind 2 games out, especially in that first 6 format. You're never really out of it. It doesn't really matter if your opponent's throwing in 11 and 12 darters, as long as you hold your throw with a solid 15 data, which Wade could do, bread and butter. Then you hang around in games, and some weeks he's missing these chances, some weeks he's taking them. But over the course of a 16-week campaign, Wade's an absolute seasoned veteran campaigner. He will grind out semi-finals and finals. He will get enough points. And even if he doesn't make that final 4, he's not going to be the kind of player that's going to be detached at the bottom. He's always going to pick up points, even when he's not playing well.
Went on a surprisingly deep run into a Pro Tour over the weekend as well, Wade, if I remember rightly, which we don't normally see. He normally rocks up in his Reebok Classic.
Unusual.
Isn't really that interested. But yeah, that's on a different subject. In the bottom half of the draw, if you like, last week in Birmingham, Gary Anderson went to a final leg again, but this time when he lost the final leg, he didn't kick off because it was with his countryman Peter Snakebite Wright, and they're all happy and smiley. So that was 6-5 to the Snake there. And then Clayton absolutely walloped Michael Smith in the first game, 6-1. I mean, Smith averaged 99, but he just missed a few doubles, and Clayton did not miss, and it was 6-1, and on to the semi-finals they went.
Yeah, I thought it was really impressive from Clayton the way he went about it. We talked about Michael Smith scoring and that power scoring and how dangerous he can be over this short format, blow you away. But Clayton didn't give him the chance, didn't let him settle. He was right on his throat straight away. And he grew in confidence as the night went on, Clayton. And yeah, as you say, Gary Anderson, I fancied him to maybe get to the final. And I, as we'll come on to shortly, I wasn't too discouraged by that performance. Thought there was plenty of flashes of what we talked about from Anderson. But again, on the wrong end of a 6-5. And that's going to happen over this format. I don't think it's anything to worry about. And Wright just continues to confuse, really. At times looks brilliant. At times looks, I don't think he's ever got to be anything else, Peter Wright. I think we've just got to accept him for what he is. And he's an absolute nightmare from a punting perspective, trying to get him right. Pardon the pun. But, that is where we're at with him, and it's where we're always going to be with him. And I thought the finalists were worthy finalists. I thought Clayton was a very worthy winner, and another enjoyable night of action. Looking forward to the week ahead.
Yep. So after week 8, the table, there's a bit of a breakaway at the top, man. They've got Van Gerwen on 17, Clayton on 17, and then Peter Wright on the 16, and it's a little breakaway. Then you've got a gap to the likes of Cullen, etc. I am starting to fear for Michael Smith. We're now 8 weeks in. He has been to a final, but he's not won one. Wade's been to a couple of finals without winning, but yeah, Smith another first round exit last week, and Gary Anderson. I mean, I don't even think he should be in the Premier League, to be quite honest with you, but he is, and he is at the bottom on 7 points. Whilst we're at the halfway stage, Pieman, there's 8 weeks in, there's another 8 weeks to go of the league phase. I thought it would be worthwhile flagging to the viewers this week the outright odds to win the Premier League outright. Not much change, as you can imagine. Gerwin Price, probably the biggest change in the market, given he's drifted. He's out to 6-1. He's got injury problems. You know, he went out 6-3 last week in the first round against Cullen. Yeah, quite well documented injury problems, and problems with the crowd are ongoing week to week. But anyway, Van Gerwen is the 5-2 favourite. I think that's about right. Snake's 100-30, and Clayton's in there at 4-1. Price is 5 or 6-1 as mentioned, and then you can have pretty much whatever price you want. The rest, Michael Smith 12, probably not big enough. Joe Cullen is available at 12 as well. James Wade 16, and Gary Anderson, he ain't winning, so it don't matter what price he is. What do you make of the prices at this stage, though, Pieman? Would you be swayed to play? You've seen the new format. Who's enjoying it? Who's not? Who's playing well? Who's injured? Where would you put your tenor at this stage?
I got completely against what you just said there. I think Gary Anderson. Yeah, I think 25 to 1's too big. I honestly do. Like, I mean, we've seen him win a night playing really well. He's been on the end of 2.65s in the last 2 weeks. Very fine margins, and I fully believe. Put it this way: I'd rather be backing Gary Anderson at double the price of Michael Smith if I was looking for a value player, because I think he maybe will do enough to just sneak into 4th spot. Whereas Michael Smith, I think you're quite right there. I do fear for him now. I think from a mental perspective, any of these players are capable of winning 2 weeks in a row. But Michael Smith is the one player out the 8 that you wouldn't want him to get to halfway having not won a night. That'll be really playing on him.
I agree.
I just think it might be a case of trying too hard at times. And, you know, now, even if he does get through that initial game, it's going to be very much on his mind that he needs to go on and not just make the final, but win the night. And he's got to be constantly feeling this pressure to produce something exceptional. And even if he wins a week, he's going to feel the need to maybe go and win again another week. So I wouldn't be with Michael Smith. Anderson, you know, is very... You know, I totally take on board what you're saying. Maybe there are more worthy players of a Premier League spot. Certainly, moving forward in darts, I think there are more worthy players for the future of darts. But what he will do in this format is he won't panic if he gets a little bit detached. We've seen that he could turn up and just turn it on and win a night. I think he fancies it at the moment. I've been quite impressed with him in the last month or so. And I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls another win out of the bag at some point in these next couple of weeks. Now, he might have another dip. But what I could see happening is I could see Anderson just sneaking into that 4th spot and being there on the night in at about 6-1 outsider of the 4. And he'd just be a live runner. I think 25, I could definitely see the angle. I think likeliest winner is probably Van Gerwen, followed by Clayton. I wouldn't be dealing with Wright just because of the inconsistencies, even though he does sandwich the two in the market. Gerwin Price, the injuries put me off big time. I don't know why he's still playing in Pro Tour events when he clearly needs to rest that hand. I think he should be I can understand him wanting to play the Premier League, but if you've got to give that hand rest, have 6 days off and play the Premier League, and unless it's a major or a TV tournament, just stay at home. I mean, we've seen him skip the Pro Tours before, so why on earth was he turning up last weekend? That was a strange decision for me. It's almost like he's wanting to show everyone that he's fine, when really it's just a hand injury. You know, just rest it. No one's going to begrudge you resting it. But, you know, that is Price. He is his own man.
I've got some cold water here, Pieman.
Yeah.
I'm going to pour it on your Gary Anderson argument. It's been 8 weeks of Premier League in 2022. Gary Anderson has gone out in the first round on 6 occasions. And you're telling people that you would back him at 25-1. I won't back him at 50-1. Now, I do get your argument. If he is there in the final 4, by some miracle, makes the final 4, which I don't think he will. But if he does, I get your argument then. Back him at the outsider on the night, on one night at 6, 7, 10-1.
Well, but let's look at this, though. The format heavily favours somebody sneaking in there. I mean, to get 5 points for winning a night. So Gary Anderson, Gary Anderson wins tonight. He goes from bottom, detached on 7 points, to 12 points, which is currently a qualifying spot with Joe Cullen. Now, he's won that night really emphatically, and since then he's been on the wrong end of 2 games where he's missed match starts. So he is not far away. I think he's playing well, and I would make the argument that he is more likely than Smith or Wade to sneak into that 4th spot. So if you were looking for a value play, I would go Anderson. If you're looking for a likely winner, I would keep it between Van Gerwen and Clayton. And I'd be inclined to just play Clayton at the odds because he's not going to bottle it. He's a reigning Premier League champion, a 3-time TV champion last year. He played exceptional. We all know if he turns up on the night, which he's capable of doing, he could beat them all. And it just on a pure price play, it would be Clayton over MVG.
Right, I agree with the latter part of your statement there, Clayton over MVG. Yeah, right, that's enough of the past. Let's look to the future. Week number 9, we're going to Leeds for the first direct arena. First game, Michael Smith versus Peter Wright. I mean, it's not looking too clever for Michael Smith at the moment, is it? You would probably be siding with Snake there. I certainly would. Would you?
Not sure. I'm not sure I could ever confidently side with Peter Wright. Michael Smith needs a win here. To me, this goes one or two ways. Either Michael Smith turns up and plays relaxed, plays really well, and probably beats Wright, who is just struggling for consistency at the moment. Or if Michael Smith doesn't turn up, it becomes a scrap, and I would fancy Wright to prevail there because, as I say, Wright's on and off like a light switch at the moment. A good leg followed by a horrific leg. But I do just feel if these two players go to a 4-4 or a 5-5 situation, I would want to be with Wright to close it out. I just think he's closing, as we saw in the World Championship final, and as we've seen over a number of years, he's just a better closer than Michael Smith, generally speaking. But I couldn't ever back Wright at odds on in this 1st to 6 format, to be honest. I probably would just leave it as a no bet and just watch it. Michael Smith needs to win more, but whether that'll work for or against him, I'm not sure really.
Well, he's 8-11 Snake, and if you're looking for an ACCA build-up, I would much prefer have Snake at 8-11 than Michael Smith at 11-10 at the moment. Put it that way.
I'd just leave him off.
Fair enough. But I do. But a few of my mates like to do, the 4 game roll up for the quarterfinals. If you see what I mean, and for a 5 or a 10, a bit of fun. Second game in action, Van Gerwen versus Anderson, one of the classics, if you like, between two of the old guard, and they very rarely fail to entertain us. Van Gerwen's 1-2, and you can get Gary Anderson around 6-4, maybe a touch bigger if you're lucky.
Yeah, about 2.6 for Gary Anderson. Look, I quite confidently put him up as a value selection odds against last week, and he lost 6-5. It didn't discourage me. Michael van Gerwen's performance was abysmal last week, but the fact that he's come and won on the Pro Tour, as mentioned, at Players Championship 10, I think it maybe was, that allies any fears that he may be suffering some kind of dip. I think it was just an off night. Couldn't get going. You'd expect Van Gerwen to return to his best here, and frankly, Van Gerwen at his best just has a little bit too much for Anderson these days. So I think if you're playing the ACCA, you would probably be looking at Van Gerwen. Gary Anderson, look, I've said it several times already in this video. I think he's in better form than the recent results suggest, but I'm not going to confidently put him up to beat Michael van Gerwen. Van Gerwen's the likelier winner.
Yeah, next on your ACCA list is Clayton against Cullen. Cullen didn't really play very well at all last week for me, but was a winner. I think was it the week before? He won in Holland, and then fell out with Gary Anderson in between then as well. So I think this has got the ingredients to be the best of the opening round. Clayton against Cullen. I think they play at a similar pace to each other. No messing. Yeah, I think this could be a good one.
Yeah, it has. I want to see a bit more from Joe Cullen, to be honest. I don't think he's averaged over 94 in about 5 weeks now. Got that excellent win in the Netherlands, but again, it was workmanlike, and he had to survive match starts, and he rode his luck a little bit along the way. Some great finishes at the right time, and I spoke last week about him looking really at home at this level now and looking really comfortable. But Joe Cullen at his best is a really, really good scorer, and that just hasn't been there for me for a few weeks, and that would really worry me against Clayton. He knows what he's going to get. One thing I would say in Cullen's defence is that I do think he raises his game when he needs to, and I think that he's played Jonny Clayton and they're very good friends off the hockey. I think that'll help him massively to relax. And yeah, I wouldn't discredit Cullen completely, but you've got to say Clayton is the most likely winner of this match.
The biggest conundrum fixture, if you like, is the final quarter-final between James Wade and Gerwin Price. James Wade is the type of fella that I have never, ever got right. Whether if I back with him, he loses. If I back against him, he beats my man. But I tell you what, Pieman, I would be happy to back James Wade at 6-4 to beat Gerwin Price, just plainly down to the injury. You can visibly see it on the Pro Tour, and I'm guessing on the Premier League live television as well. His hand is swollen. It's in, this is what he throws the dart with. 6-4 Wade, no problem. I will be back in that this week.
Totally agree with you. I'm sure we've cursed him now. I think he's a massive player at 6-4 Wade. We know what he's going to do. He's been doing it virtually every week. He's going to get outscored. He's going to throw 15 darts, solid legs on his throw, and he's going to hope for an opportunity against the throw. And one thing you have to say about Price, whether you think this injury is affecting him or not, he's not been his ruthless self for a little while now. Certainly not enough in recent weeks and months. And he does give his opponent opportunities. Some of these games, they're not taking them. And Price does have this aura about him, on the stage where he can sometimes put his opponents off. But Wade, being the seasoned professional he is, he'll just plug away on his throw. He'll know Price isn't at his absolute best at the moment. He'll be waiting for opportunities. And what he did last week brilliantly is he took all of those opportunities. Any little openings, he took them. And I think he's a massive play at odds against. So Wade would probably be the pick of the night for me.
So that just leaves me with one question, Pieman. Who's going to win week 9 in Leeds?
I got him badly wrong last week, but I'll be sticking with Michael van Gerwen. I know it's not a very original call at the moment, but I would, as I say, he's the likeliest winner against Gary Anderson, and I think he beats one of Smith or Wright in the semi-finals. So I would happily go with MVG in the week-to-week market. I think I saw a bit of 3-1 about him to win on the night. So I wouldn't put anyone off that. I think you'll get a good run for your money at least.
Well, this sounds like a bit of deja vu from last week, but I'm going to go with Clayton again. I think he can beat Cullen, and then I think he's got an easier game against Wade or Price in the next round. So I think Clayton can book himself in a final again. I didn't go as far to say he would win last week, Pieman, Clayton. I said he would make the final. Maybe I should have been more decisive. Yeah, you don't give me too much credit. Maybe I should be more decisive with my selections. Jonny Clayton is the official pick from myself to win back-to-back, and he will go and win week 9.
Jonny Clayton and MVG final currently at 6-1. So if you want to play the forecast, I think that's a decent price, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, well, we'll wrap it up there then. Quick fire Premier League darts preview. We'll be back again next week. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.